DJ PK and Pablo Mastroeni, RSL head coach, joining us. Pablo, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
I understand I'm supposed to ask you about your whereabouts. There's a possibility that you're somewhere in Arizona, maybe on the Thunderbird High campus in short sleeves and warm weather.
They've been having rain down there this week.
Maybe golfing it in Canto.
Yeah.
Golfing it in Canto. I don't know. North Scottsdale is more like it.
Troon,
right?
the boulders.
Troon.
Yeah, right? Yeah, at the play, we're at TPC in Scottsdale.
TPC,
Yeah.
Of course.
Absolutely, man. They got two courses there. And Greyhawk is right over there. Plenty of places to play.
It's beautiful, yeah. And actually, this cloud cover is actually nice because it's still, I think, around 60 degrees. So it's ideal weather to enjoy family and play a little golf.
Yeah, cloud cover spoken, when they say cloud cover is actually really nice, that's spoken by a true Phoenician.
Just beat up by the sun all these years.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Pablo, big news, big press conference. The schedule is out, and Messi is coming to Utah. All right. Is there a part of you, a kid, is like, I can't believe I'm going to be in the same field with Messi? Is there somewhere in there, is there a 12-year-old version of Pablo who gets amazed every once in a while?
Well, I think I had that when I happened to lock horns with him back in the day on the field, which was I was really giddy. Now I kind of feel like what the players are going to feel like, especially having them come to our place. I think it's a special moment because I think it levels the playing field a little bit with our 12th man and the guys sleeping in their own beds and. The feeling, you get if you're to be able to overcome and beat a great Miami side with one of the best players in the world on the team.
Yeah, I think it's great for the fans. I can recall, this was going back many years ago now, obviously, when I tell you that Donovan was coming to play at Rice Eccles on the turf, and I thought, I got to get out and see this dude. And took the fam, went over there, and watched him play. And, you got a lot of hardcore fans who are going to go, but I think it can draw in the casual, and maybe they can find, hey, this is a pretty good time. I'm going to do this again.
Yeah, no, I think I think he's done a wonderful job of raising the awareness of the sport in this country since he's come abroad. Obviously, still scoring goals at an incredible clip. And so he still has a lot of football left in him. I think it's players like this. You're absolutely right that take the layman fan and turn him into, full-blown soccer fanatics and start following, the U.S. team and then start getting involved. It takes a moment like this, I think, to get people to come over and realize how different, how unique the sport of soccer is, and what a player of Messi's caliber can do to the game.
At the press conference, John Kimball was talking, and he was listing all the clubs that are coming in with all the star players, right? Thomas Miller's coming in, Son is coming in, Messi is coming in. He had a long list. And what I didn't hear was star players for RSL. And so I talked to somebody with the club after the press conference that said, what I didn't hear is someone wearing the claret and cobalt to compete with them. But then they went on to be pretty optimistic after we lamented the fact that you had to run out there with a bunch of kids who basically were college age in most of the attacking positions, trying to score goals last year at the start of the season. It got better as the season went along. But he was pretty optimistic that there were going to be some quality players coming in, and I wondered how much of that optimism you shared, what percent of the process you're through, because it's a process.
Yep.
And so you could probably graph the optimism and how much of the work is done. It's never done until it's across the finish line and signed, and that is weeks, if not months away. So where do you sit on that scale, knowing who you're going to have to compete against?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. And I think you hit the nail on the head as far as, the areas we definitely need the biggest improvement is finding the back of the net. And I think you get that with a bit more quality and a bit more experience. And I say that for two things. One, in real time, experience and quality will get you goals now. But thinking long term, especially being a club that prides themselves on development, is there's no better teacher than having a peer in front of you showing you day in and day out what it looks like to be a prolific goal scorer. So I think a big-time player that can score goals for our team will not only help us, but it'll also help all the players around them be better, along with bringing the youth that we have a lot of great young talent behind them that just needs to, feel what it feels like day in and day out, whether it's in the locker room, on the field. And so, as a matter of fact, today we have another recruitment meeting here at 10:30. We'll go over it. And so, it's never like this big home run. It's always just biting off one piece at a time, shrinking the pool of players, the availability, what they cost. All these different things go into the equation. And like you said, it's a long, arduous process. And hopefully at the end we get a guy that all RSL fans and the guys in the locker room will be really proud of.
I think it was about 2 weeks ago, stuff that we had heard. They announced it in terms of extending contracts to yourself and Kurt Schmidt and all that. And I'm wondering, now you've been with the team about 5 years or so. So it's not exactly a fresh start, but with ownership, a guy like Steve Starks, I've golfed with Steve, and everybody knows if I golf with you, I have to hold you in high regard. I just don't go out and golf with anybody, Pablo. You know what I'm talking about. And so I've golfed with Steve Starks, and so I hold him in high regard. I don't know if fresh start, but sort of like maybe a new beginning. Is that sort of an attitude permeating the organization?
Yeah, no, I think you're right, PK. And I think there's also a shift in, we want to continue to be a development club. That will always be the case. I think Tony Beltran has done a fantastic job, and Jason with the academy and the Monarchs. And it's just such a advantage to have players that can grow into the system. And so I think that will always be a part of who we are. I think the emphasis from Steve Starks and the Miller Group is we want to be a winning club. We want to be a club that our fans can get behind year in and year out whilst we're developing players. So it's not one or the other. It's both. And so in order to do that, obviously, we need some top-end talent on the first team as well. And I think that was the biggest takeaway from last year. Given what we were able to do in 2024 and the output offensively that those players brought, along with the growth of these young players, is we need some top-end talent to make sure that we're able to achieve both things, which is very, very difficult to do. I think if you're a development club, you don't really worry about winning, and if you're a club that wants to win now, you don't really care about development. And so it's a tricky middle ground, but I think we have the people, I think we have the infrastructure, and more importantly, I think we have the vision and belief that we can achieve both things. And so the onus on us this offseason is to make sure we put a team together that is extremely competitive from day one and really learning from all the experiences that we had in 2025.
That right there, the last couple minutes to me is everything. I see how this could work, and it could be great. And I also know it's all on paper, and in sports, when everything's on paper, there's still a lot of stuff that can go wrong before the dream comes true. But
right.
The Millers are into consistency. And when PK said a new beginning, honestly, I threw up in my mouth a little bit. Because it seems like there's been a new beginning every year for more than a decade. It's either a new coach, it's a new GM, or it's a new owner. And there's never been a chance to get a group together, have them learn lessons. It's still not perfect. Have them learn more lessons and tweak the things that weren't perfect and grow off that, because there's always somebody new coming in. And I thought what you said needs to be underlined so much, Pablo. The young guys are good, but they have to learn from people who are really good. And I read a bio about Pep Guardiola, and he is just a coaching legend. And you go back and he had a great playing career, and then you find out, well, he played for a coach who's a legend. And then you back that up and you find out, well, that guy was a great player. Now, I'm not going to go back into Dutch football and dig all this up, but it's the same trend as the NFL. Everyone's going nuts over Andy Reid. And he coached for Lavelle Edwards, who's in the Hall of Fame, or played for him. And he coached with Mike Holmgren, who won a Super Bowl. And Holmgren coached with Bill Walsh, who won 3 Super Bowls. And Bill Walsh coached with Paul Brown, who won like a dozen NFL titles before there was a Super Bowl. It's like none of these guys fell out of a tree and figured it out. They all learned from somebody. But I'm wondering if everybody's on the same page and if everybody could stay together long enough to learn these lessons, because otherwise you just keep spinning in circles.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think consistency is very difficult in the modern day. I think in any sport, right? And I think, the way Steve views success in his time with Utah was consistency with the players, with the staff, with the front office, and they were able to achieve it. And so I think he's got a really good understanding and a feel for what it takes to be a perennial playoff team that's competing for trophies year in and year out. And in this case, whilst bringing along the next generation of players, and I think that is critical. That's something that he's emphasized with us. And so, the other part of that is obviously we lost a coach this year, and the idea is bringing in another experienced coach, one that will help, challenge ideas, give new ideas. And so I think we're trying to hit this thing on all fronts, where it's players that are really critical because they produce in real time on Saturdays, but it's also a staff that continues to improve. When there's openings, bring in coaches that are not just in their nascent stages of coaching, but have a lot of experience. And I think obviously that'll help me out, that'll help the rest of the staff out, and it also help the team out. And so, we want to keep pushing the envelope to become better in every facet of our club. And in particular, in my shoes, I want to be a better coach. And I know that if I want to do that, I gotta make sure I step outside my comfort zone and have, coaches with, the same amount of experience, if not more, challenging ideas. And I think that's how we all get better is working with people that see things a little differently, that have a bit of success in different, experiences in their lives to share. And I think that's how we become a winning club.
What do you think about the new calendar?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, PK. And I think, like DJ said earlier, on paper it looks good. There's going to be a lot of head scratching. Come the early spring, late winter, and some of these venues will be very difficult to play in. Obviously, these guys have thought through it, and I think a lot of the games will be played in cities where there's not. The likelihood isn't that there's going to be inclement weather, but we know that Dallas has some crazy weather at times. Houston has ice storms, so I think it'll be a challenge and something that, we're going to have to kind of go through. But as far as lining up with the rest of the world, it's a huge advantage from a player acquisition perspective.
Right.
We picked up Victor Alatunji and Ron Cruz, and they got to play 8 or 9 games. Right. And so it's like it doesn't make sense from an investment perspective to spend all this money on players and then get not even a third of the season with their teams. And I think that's a bigger picture perspective as to why we're doing this. So there's going to always be some positives and some hang-ups, and we just got to work through those. But I think the idea to be aligned with the rest of the world is really important if we want to be a league that contends with the best leagues in the world.
You're big on training camp, and obviously the two guys you referenced, I thought Olatunji did a pretty good job of fitting in and producing in a really short period of time. Cruz could probably use the training camp, but you have consistently pounded the table and underlined the importance of having a full training camp to really, if you're going to play your best soccer, you just have to do that. So having said that, if you got that thing planned out, you going somewhere, back to Arizona, to Spain, to Santa Barbara. Where's the club headed this year?
We got it planned out. We're going back to Portugal, and we have 4 or 5 really good games in Portugal, and we leave about 10 days into camp that we start there in Harriman, and then come back for a week. And then we're off to California for 8 or 9 days to finish the camp and finish with a game against LAFC the week before our opener. So it sounds like a great camp. And I think, DJ, to your point about why preseason is important, I think it's more than the X's and O's. It's the feeling of being together. It's spending time together. It's building relationships that are beyond just the field part. And I think, when you build trust with another person off the field, you feel more inclined to be able to hold them to higher standards because you're familiar with who they are as a person, and that becomes really important. So I think the preseason is where we really drop in the mentality piece, what kind of team we want to be, what kind of, how we want to play the game. We want to be aggressive on both sides of the ball. If we don't get that time with those players, oftentimes we're left just talking tactics because they got to hit the ground running whenever they join the group in the middle of the season. So that's why it's really important, because I think it kind of encapsulates every aspect of team that we want to be, and those 6 weeks are really critical for that.
All right, well, I don't want to make you late for your tea time at TPC Scottsdale, so we better let you go.
He's got a meeting in an hour. He just said that.
It's just a reference to the start of the interview.
It's all work today. The guy's nose to the grindstone at all times.
This is fun, though. This wasn't work. This was fun. It was great catching up with you guys. It's always a lot of fun.
All right. Good to talk to you, Pablo. Have a good day, and we will see you down the road.
Sounds great, guys. Take care.
All right. There's Pablo Mastroeni, RSL head coach. Still to come, Hans Olsen, BYU, Cincinnati. Big game for BYU. Big game for Cincinnati. Big game for Utah. This is on the list. The whole top half of the league is hanging on this game.
For sure.
Texas Tech probably figures that we're in the title game, but who are we playing? Right. It's a big game to Texas Tech. We will get to that with Hans Olsen next. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You've been listening to The Zone for decades. Yes! But now you can watch the guys break down your favorite teams.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Catch the video stream of DJ and PK, Jake and Ben, Hanson, Scotty, and JJ and Alex right now at KSLSports.com or by searching KSL Sports on YouTube. Utah's best sports radio is on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ PK, we're brought to you in part by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 801-210-6800 or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. Time to welcome in Hans Olsen. You'll hear him on the call of the BYU game at Cincinnati Saturday night. Hans, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Good. Where in the world are you right now, Hans? Have you already traveled or does that come later?
That comes later. I'll be at RGS Exteriors later this evening. We got football Fridays with Alima and Mac, and then I'll head out about 5:30. But big trip.
Yes, it is a big trip. It's funny not in a ha-ha sense, but whatever kind of sense you could say it, that the team is in the exact same position that it was in last year as this year. And we were surprised last year. We're surprised this year. But I don't think now that we've seen the development of the program from last year to this year, we're mainly surprised because of the quarterback situation. Otherwise, I don't think we're surprised, whereas opposed to last year, we were probably surprised about the whole thing. Now, with all that being stated, I believe this team is literally better than last year, so I like their chances more going into a good team's stadium than I did last year. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. I think you're right on it, PK. If you could find a way to mirror this team and play it against last year's team, I think this team beats them. I think they're a little bit more sound in the run game, and I think Bear Bachmeier is more of a sound quarterback. Ritzlaff made too many big mistakes in too many critical moments, and it just feels like Bear has been more stable with only 4 interceptions, and he's been so careful with the ball in all his runs. He's been so careful, going for almost 500 yards. And, there's been some close calls. There was one fumble that was covered by Kyle Safarchuk. What was that, against Arizona? I think it was. Maybe it was Colorado, where you had to have the possession. But he's just been so careful with it. And I think L.J. Martin has taken the next step. And this offensive line is working really well together. I also think, PK, that you add the experience. So you throw guys like Jack Kelly, Isaiah Glasker, L.J. Martin. You throw some of these veterans, some of these seniors, some of these captains, the Chase Roberts and Parker Kingstons of the world, into the scenarios they had last year where they lost the two that put them out. And now they've got this scenario and situation this year where they had the one loss to Texas Tech and they know they can't suffer another. So they've used their experience. Also, I've talked to Kalani in the post games. I talked to him post game Texas Tech. And I said, how do you prevent from letting what happened last year happen this year? And he said, I've got some ideas. So he's learned a lot. I think these veterans, these seniors have learned a lot. And I think we saw it really shift into gear against TCU, PK, where I was a little bit nervous, a hangover from Texas Tech and some injury and some disappointment, how it was going to play it against TCU. And man, they lit the world on fire just last weekend.
Yeah, dominant.
Occasionally, I take a stand, I find a stat, and then I die on that hill, Hans. I'm turning over a new leaf.
Good one, Hans. Good one.
I've tracked this for years. Hans. Teams travel 2 time zones or more. The winning percentage drops through the floor. It's not impossible. It can be done.
He was tracking it as a 10-year-old. That's what's absurd.
What is it, like 70%? Well, I know it's high, DJ. What it was like 70-some%.
Yeah, I haven't added it up this year. I don't have a recent number for you, but I've been tracking it since at least 20 years of watching this. I've been talking to Riley about it for like 15 years,
That's ridiculous.
And it keeps happening. However, that team that travels, sometimes they win. Sometimes they're really good. Sometimes the opponent's really bad. It does happen, and I think the BYU defense is really good. So although normally I would pick the home team in a 2 time zone game, I'm thinking I'm going to bank on the Cougar defense to come through, and I'm going to pick BYU to win this game. I know I could well be wrong. It could absolutely could be, but I'm doing it anyway. The matchup. And Cincinnati's offense, they are getting a running back who was their one back. It's kind of 1A and 1B. They have 2 guys who were running it. But they're getting one of them back, and they're getting a key receiver back too. So maybe I'm underestimating the Cincinnati offense. What do you think of that matchup? How many points do you think Cincinnati scores? Obviously, special teams, short fields could influence it. But, ballpark, is BYU going to hold these guys to 20 points or less? Because I think at that number, they're going to win the game.
Okay, so the 2 guys you're talking about are Evan Pryor and Caleb Goody.
Right.
And both of them are top in the country in explosive plays. Both of them are like in the top 5 or top 10 in explosive plays. One at the receiving position, one at the running back position. So, and they have not won a game where Evan Pryor has been out of the game, the running back, even though I do think Tawi Walker is just as good. The running back that's been taking the reins, he had 115 or 120 yards just last week against Arizona in a loss, but still a lot of good yardage, some breakaway plays. It was really good. So there is a logjam in our running back, and between Caleb Goody and Cyrus Allen, it's a pretty darn good receiving core. So it's going to be a dogfight. I've worked through this a lot. And, you add on the time zone, you add on Vegas making it a 2.5-point spread. And I know you guys know what Vegas is trying to do with the 2.5-point spread. With the team on the road, they're really trying to incite money. They've got an idea of what's going to happen. So there are a lot of indicators saying that Cincinnati is going to have a good game. I don't know. You guys know Ian Fitzsimmons, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Ian Fitzsimmons was on with me yesterday. PK, his parting shot as he was leaving, he was like, hold on before I go. I don't think it's going to be a good day for BYU in Cincinnati.
Really?
So, yeah. So Ian doesn't feel good about it. But it's crazy, DJ, because you feel pretty good about it. I feel pretty good about it. And I've got a pretty good sense of this BYU team. You talked about 20 points. I think that they can hold Cincinnati to 17. Arizona held them to 24. Utah held them to, was it 14? I think it was 14, or was it?
It was 14. It was 14.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, it was 14. I put BYU right in between that because it's on the road. Utah had them at home. I think that helped a little bit. It's on the road. I know BYU's defense is better than Arizona. Arizona held them to 24 points in or 20 points in Cincinnati. So I'm putting them at 17 in this Cincinnati offense. Now it's about what they can score. And, this is an interesting matchup. Cincinnati is dead last in the country. They're 136th out of 136 teams in ball possession with only 24 minutes of ball possession. BYU is number 14 in the country with 32 minutes and 40 seconds of ball possession. So Cincinnati hurries, they lose the ball, they end drives quick, they can exhaust. And I think BYU is going to be able to establish a run. Cincinnati gives up too many yards on the ground. So I'm going to put BYU's points somewhere between 28 and 32 based off of stats, based off a lot of the film I've looked at. So, yeah, I'm just breaking it down probably too much, DJ, but I feel pretty darn good about BYU, where they stand and where the Cincinnati team is. And I'm just putting together my keys to the game that I do in the pregame. And one of my keys is going deep into detail. Cincinnati's not going to be able to win this game just on a base format. They're going to have some trickery. They're going to have to be out of the box. They're going to have to do some crazy things in order to win this game. That's how much I think BYU's got the trench advantage, the linebacker advantage, the running game advantage, and the corners advantage. I think that BYU has a lot going for them. And I'm with you, DJ. I feel pretty confident about it.
Yeah, I think that's another way of saying, in my mind, when they played Tech, they needed to be clicking at the top level in every aspect of the game. Here, Obviously, you want to do that, but I don't think that they need to do that, meaning they could withstand a mistake or two, where at Texas Tech it couldn't, and we saw that from the very first punt, and then it seemed like it was downhill. So just as I evaluate talent level versus talent level, that's why I feel good. But then you factor in football, and it's a crazy game, and it makes you nervous.
Yep. I'm with you, PK. I sit here and stew in it. I spend a lot of time breaking down numbers, breaking down film, and I can talk myself into a lot of different outcomes.
Sure.
And I could see Cincinnati doing some wild things and getting some lucky breaks and having a lot of things go their way. But if BYU just plays sound, plays base, and even if they come out all square, and I do think this is one of those games where all square in the turnover, you're going to be just fine. A -1, you'll be able to fight through it. Anything plus, and it's going to be a dominant win. But that's why I think Cincinnati's going to have to play some tricks here. And Sorsby's hobbled. He's not 100% healthy. I'm just watching this Arizona film.
Right.
I think he got banged up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he got banged up against Utah, PK, and against Arizona. Right as you guys called me, I'm sitting here watching it, trying to get ready for this call, but he does not look good. He can't get off the edge, can't get up the middle, and Arizona just really kept him in check. In fact, Utah and Arizona, he was held to 30 yards or under in those two losses. And I think 4 carries against Utah, I think 9 carries against Arizona, something like that. I'm going off memory from yesterday's study, but they were able to just stack him up and beat him up. And if he can't convert for you on a 3rd and 4, and if he can't be that deadly punch in the red zone from, where you're second down and goal from the 5 or 6. I don't know if you guys saw the tweet I put out. He and Bear Bachmeier's numbers across the board are almost identical. Passing yards, rushing touchdowns. They both have 4 interceptions. Sorsby has 9 rushing touchdowns. Bear has 10 rushing touchdowns. They're both right around 2,200 yards passing. They're both around 500 yards running. The only difference is Sorsby is a passing touchdown maniac, and Bear is not there yet with the passing touchdown. But if Sorsby can be the foot in the second or third and goal from the 5 or 6 where he runs in like Bear's done 100 times, that's the big problem. I don't think he can be that, guys. And I think BYU is prepared to take on a healthy Sorsby, let alone a hobbled Sorsby. And so I think that's a real advantage.
We get to go down on the field for the last few minutes of the game, and it was apparent from up in the press box, but it was completely obvious down on the field that he was throwing off his back foot. He couldn't step into stuff. I don't know if he didn't want to step into contact. I don't know if he didn't want to land on that left foot. But Sorsby's throw, it was all flick of the wrist and arm, and his arm is remarkably strong. But he did sail some balls. And, man, if they're, if you're a safety out there playing center field, as they like to say, Tanner Wall, Satuala, keep your eyes open, guys.
Yeah.
There could be one overthrown down the middle.
Yeah, to your point, DJ, against Arizona, his 2 picks were sailed balls. Now, one was under pressure and one was without pressure. But his 2 interceptions against Arizona were exactly what you're talking about. I think whatever he's dealing with is leading to a bit of inaccuracy, which I think will lead to a bit of self-doubt. And that's why I've done a little bit of study on their backup quarterback, this Brady Lichtenberg. He's just a senior. He's been around for a long time. But he really doesn't have any reps with Cincinnati. Cincinnati has basically pushed Brendan Sorsby like he's Shedeur Sanders at Colorado. Like, you're blanketing everybody because this guy is that good. But I've been trying to study a little bit about Brady Lichtenberg, and he's a guy that will run. He's not overly big. He's not as big as Brendan. He's not as fast as Brendan. He's definitely not somebody that they want to go to if they have to. But I think if we see number 16 come into the game, I think Cincinnati's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, this is a funky situation for BYU. When you're in,
it is,
and it just.
I don't like it, PK.
Yeah, it's really crazy how you play all this football, and then here we are. But this is what it's about, and I just think that in my mind, the team, it just seems like they're up for the task. I don't know if they're up for the task of beating Tech in a couple of weeks, but I think they're up for the task of going 11-1. And if they get that, that's an amazing season, and we'll see what happens down in Arlington. But for right now, but at the same time, man, if they lose, it's just a deflating situation. I'm sure you've been in that. I don't even want to ponder it for these guys. That the stakes are really amazing. And somehow, and I know you've been in that situation, how do you get yourself to ignore the stakes and play football?
Yeah, it's really tough, and I have been there, PK. I was a part of that 1996 team that went 14-1, and that one loss to Washington. It was in Washington, and it was a tough pill to swallow. I remember the day I was dressed on the sideline. I was redshirting at the time. And we didn't understand at the moment. We didn't understand how impactful that one loss would be. But we get to 14-1, and whatever it was it BCS back then? I can't even remember. But they didn't give us a shake. They didn't give us a fair nod in what we were able to do in that season. But that was a miserable one. And, calling that Kansas game last year, it was, the Arizona State and Kansas game, back-to-back losses, watching one lead to the other and watching it be just a monumental mistake. And Kansas just weren't a good team. I mean, they were a good team. They were okay team, but they weren't a team that BYU should be losing to at home. That was a real upsetting moment. But I've been a part of a lot of it, PK, and I say I don't like it because I think the three of us have – in the years that we've been in this market calling games and covering Utah and BYU and Utah State, it just feels like these moments come fairly often, and there's more letdowns than there are pickups. But, I think Kyle has gotten over that line a couple of times, getting the Pac-12 championships and doing what he needed to do. And I think Kalani is very capable of it. It's just like, it's here. This is the moment. And this is the game.
Right.
If you stub your toe here, the three of us during our shows are going to be talking about the what ifs and could haves instead of, well, here we go, the rematch in Arlington. And, I keep catching myself getting ahead of myself. Tuesday night, I pulled up the BYU Texas Tech game and I watched 3 quarters. I watched the turnovers. I watched the special teams mistakes, the shanked punts, the muff punts. I watched the drop passes. JoJo Phillips and his drop pass. Chase Roberts had one that was in his hands across the middle. And I'm watching this game thinking, oh, give me that back. Give me that back. I want that back, because if that happens, then, now the score is 17-28, and now, and your brain starts running all these cranks. I want to see BYU get that shot back at Texas Tech. I'm not saying I'd favor BYU. I'm not saying that they'd come out to win. I know they can play a better game than they played against Texas Tech. I just hope they can find a way to get that shot.
Chuck, I don't know if you saw the play in the Cincinnati-Iowa State game, but I just put it back on Twitter because it's so awesome. Towie Walker, the running back who's been healthy for Cincinnati, completely blows up on a carry up the middle, blows up a safety. Hans, you like football and you like contact. You need to go David DJ James and see that play. It's going to make you smile.
He's a load. He's only 5'8".
Yep.
But he's about 225 pounds.
He hits a guy in the chest, and he lifts him up off the field and drives him backwards. It's spectacular. And the guy's head snapping back is wild. We're late to break. We got to run here, Hans. But check that out. Safe travels. Good luck on that remote today. Good luck on that game tomorrow, and we'll talk to you next week.
Good luck on your life, man.
Yeah, your life.
Oh, PK, thanks, my brother.
Yep.
Right back at you, boys.
Okay.
Right back at you.
All right. Thanks, Hans. Your feedback coming up next. Stay with us right here on The Zone. DJ and PK, it's time for your feedback. Kyle Whittingham turned 66 today. Amidst another great season, what do you want him to do? Is this it? Last home game? Could he be retiring?
Eat cake.
Could he be coming back for another year? U State Iceman Jack Dunbar says, how about enjoying his day? He's getting 1 year older and wiser.
Does that continue? Yeah. Or do you plateau with the wisdom?
Probably depends on the person.
Because I know I plateaued like about 15 years ago.
Tyler with the BYU logo. Retire! 5 exclamation points.
Only if he wants to. Because you're not going to get it back, so you better be darn sure.
JD Justice at the X-Files. Keep going for it on 4th down.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, the analytics, man. They say so.
Haas P, trust the analytics. And Turkish at Dark Star Travels. I want to see a live stream of him doing calf races. Obs.
He's got some calves, man.
Nice. All right, we're out of time. Jake and Ben are coming up next right here on The Zone.